Now let's look and find out who is the identity of those in Revelation chapter 7. Because let me turn there real quick myself. But have you heard this, Al-Fadi, some about the 144,000? What have you heard about it while I turn there?
Well, basically, I got some Jehovah's Witness stop at my house telling me that I should really consider to become a Jehovah's Witness. But when I ask about, am I going to make it to heaven now? And the answer was sadly no, because they don't think I'll be part of the 144,000.
All right. So yeah, you'll be down on there with everybody else.
So I said, you know what, I went with Jesus because he promised I will be in heaven. I like that position.
Right. So I'm going to use a great book here that I'm going to recommend everybody. It's called 40 Questions About the End Times by Eckhard Schnabel. And he has a little question here, question 9. Who are the 144,000 in Revelation 7? And I heard the number of the sealed, 144,000 sealed from every tribe of the sons of Israel. Then it lists them, and after it lists the tribes in 5 through 8, it says, after this I looked, and behold, a great multitude that no one could number, from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes with palm branches in their hands, and crying out with a loud voice, salvation belongs to our God who sits on the throne and to the Lamb. A couple features about this. Number one is they have been sealed. Okay? That's important to notice, number one, and we have to talk a little bit about what that means. And I also think that we should consider 12, we should at least consider this might be symbolic language with symbolic import and symbolic meaning, because 12 is often used that way. And notice the number 12 is used 12 times. Well, 12,000 specifically.
Remember, we're dealing with the book of Revelation.
Yes, exactly. And so we shouldn't deny that there's symbolic language going on there in certain spots. It doesn't mean everything, but it means where it is, because it's apocalyptical language, a common element of the genre. This figure, 144,000, also occurs in Revelation 14, 1 through 3. And so that must be brought into the interpretation of Revelation 7. And this seal of God is important. It's an essential feature here, and it pops up in some other places, but mainly 7, 1 through 8. And within this context, the context is the 6th and 7th judgment seal. And I agree, is literal descendants of each of the tribes, 12,000 from each one. But there's a few things. Number one, this list, if you look at it, doesn't match any of the 19 or 20 of the Israel's tribes listed in the Old Testament. There's significant differences. For example, Judah is listed first. That's irregular. Now, that shows you it's Christocentric, because who's the lion from the tribe of Judah? Dan is not even mentioned in this list. The reason's not given. You could say it's because of Judges 18:30 where they fell into idolatry, but the reason isn't given. Levi is mentioned, but they didn't even receive an allotment in the land of Israel.
That's right.
John lists the tribe of Joseph, and he says Manasseh, but he doesn't list Ephraim.
That's right.
And the order seems to kind of follow the son's birth order according to the mothers. So it's a highly irregular list. Again, that's a clue to say, maybe this doesn't mean a literal thing. It doesn't match anything else. So what could be going on here? Well, let's look at it.
I can tell you this. I mean, quickly, of course, the mention of Judah, that's the fact that the line of Judah comes from there.
Yeah.
The mention of Joseph, that's the firstborn, and the rights of the firstborn. And the mention of Levi, of course, has to do with the high priest.
Yes, exactly. Now let's look at this. Centric stuff once you understand you're in the new covenant. So I think a symbolic interpretation is the best way to go, and it represents the church, which is the complete number of God's elect. And I base this upon Revelation 9:4 partially, where these demonic scorpions of the fifth trumpet are ordered, quote, not to harm the grass of the earth or any plant or tree, but only those who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. And so there's a distinction there between people of God and those who have not repented yet. And this idea of Israel in Galatians 6:16 and Romans 9:6 is used of Gentile and Jewish believers alike. And remember, we've already shown that according to Romans and other places in Scripture, that Jews can mean Jew in a spiritual sense, not some outward physical thing. Okay, now notice this. I would even say that James 1:1 and 1 Peter 1:1 are kind of describing the church in terms of Jewish dispersion and all that. So there's a way to do it. 1 Peter 2:4 through 8, he calls the whole church a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahawah, BaHa, YAHAWASHI, BaHa, RAWCHAA, QADASH, and double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you, brethren, you followers of the truth, and shalom to the elect. So anyway, I seen this video. I guess it's going around with Vocab. I believe I heard Apostle Tahar mention it as well. But Vocab alone is saying 144,000 now is not what it's saying. But in Revelation 1, he's saying it was symbolic. But in Revelation 1, when it was talking about his eyes was a flame of fire and his feet like unto fine brass, like fine brass, which is dark brass, as it burned in a furnace, how it's kind of going back and forth, then that didn't make sense. It was all symbolic. But here, it's partially symbolic, but some of it's true because it's about saving Christians. I guess. I don't know. But we're going to go into this, dissect this real quick, and we're going to show you where Vocab flops bad on this one. This is probably the worst one. Now, this guy, Eckhart Schnabel, J. Schnabel, I went into his biography. That's what we do. He's a German, T-man, and he studied at all kinds of University of Aberdeen, and he's got all these theological degrees and doctor's degrees, and he's made a way for himself. But here's interesting right here. He's an evangelical theologian. Those evangelicals, right? Anyway, that's another video. Professor of the New Testament. His title, Mary French Rockefeller, Distinguished Professor of the New Testament. That's his title. I don't know. This is kind of crazy. I ain't going to go into his spouse and his children and all that. I don't think that matters. But anyway, we want to go here to Revelation. I think it was Revelation 7. And what I want to do, because of universalism placed in the Bible, but this is clear cut. I mean, if it was everybody, it wouldn't be mentioning that. And then he did go into the different tribes. It would have said the tribes exactly. What you don't understand is all those tribes, the elect out of all those tribes, and let me say all the tribes will be saved. But the elect that is amongst those tribes, whether they was in Dan or, wherever else, guess what? They're going to be saved too. They're going to come back in this lot and be a part of the tribes. That's just what it is. So anyway, let's go to Revelation 7 and 9. Well, Revelation 7 mentions it. Let's go to the other translation. I want to go to this. This is where it's going to cut them, and then we're going to go deeper into the interpretation of it as well. And this is really going to solidify the whole thing. Now, it says right here, Revelation 7, I'm obviously not going to read all this. I'm reading in the Bible of 1382. I love going into this Bible. Hard to read because of the Old English, but you can make out some things. It says Revelation 7, and where does it start? 5. Let me go to 4. And I heard a number of men, it's all spelled different, that were in mankind, or something like that, and 100,000 and 40,000 man kid. That's what it says here. It says man kid. Of every lineage of the sons of Israel, out of the lineage of Judah, 12,000 man kid, or it should be mankind. It's there how they spell it. Out of the lineage of Asher, out of the lineage of Simeon, and it goes on and on. It goes on and on. So we're going to also go, so we see this word lineage. Lineage means a descent in line from a common progenitor, right? So that takes me to, I'm going to see the other one for the last at the end of it. That takes me to Revelation 22 and 18. For I testify unto you, every man that heareth the word of this prophecy, of this book, and if any man shall add unto these things, Yahawah shall add unto him the plagues that are written in his book. And if any man shall take away from the words of this book of this prophecy, Yahawah shall take away his part out of the book of life, which we see the Idumeans aren't a part of. They're blaspheming against the Holy Scripture, and this is why it makes sense. So when we go to Revelation, let me go to Revelation 7 and 9. It says here, Vocab make this real easy, but it, keeps us sharp. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and peoples and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. We get Christians with this all the time. And as our apostles told us to do, look up words, go into detail, figure it out, and it'll come to you through the Spirit. The Lord will give it to you, Revelation 7 and 9, after this, behold, and lo, a great multitude. So let's look up the multitude. Who's the multitude? We'll go to Genesis 32 and 11. It says, deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau. For I fear him, lest he will come and smite me, right, and the mother with the children. And thou sayest, right, and thou sayest, I will surely do thee good and make thy seed as the sand of the sea. We can read this in Hosea 1 and 10. Israel shall be the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured or numbered. This is what we see in Revelation 7 and 9, of all multitudes, kindreds, and peoples and tongues, right? Let me read on up here. It says the servant, deliver me. Yep. Let me go to 12. And thou sayest, I will surely do thee good and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. Right? So we see this in Hosea 1 and 10. Go to Revelation 7. After this I beheld a great multitude, which no man could number. This is what was read. John the Revelator was kind of quoting, but adding to, like, for the fact that this is the end prophecy. But this was also being said in Hosea 1 and 10. He was bringing that to life, of all nations, right, which cannot be numbered. And it says, and kindreds and peoples and tongues. So let's go to the kindreds. See what the kindreds say. Phile, we go this 100 times. A tribe. In the New Testament, this is where vocab flops, because he tried to say, and I don't know, I think it was David Wood, I don't know who he was talking to, saying that Jesus saved them already. I don't understand why they said that. And I believe vocab don't even believe that, because he kind of jumped to this Eckhart Schnabel guy, or whoever this, I can't say on camera who I think he is. But anyway, it says in the New Testament, all the persons descended from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch of Jacob. So where does he get everybody? James 1 and 1 says the children of Israel to go to disperse, basically to the scattered. James 1 and 1, the scattered, go to the 12 tribes that are scattered abroad. Somehow he's making this something else. Clearly it says it's physical here. Clearly in the old Bible of 1382, it says lineage, but somehow they're trying to universalize it. This is like a new reformation. But clearly when you go into the interpretation, I don't need Eckhart J. Schnabel, right, to tell me what we know. All we need is the Lord, to give it to us through the Spirit, right? So this is kind of crazy. Let's go to Hebrews 8 and 8. For finding fault with them, behold, saith the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Somehow, these guys are taking something now that's physical, and now they're switching it back to metaphorical or symbolic, right? But when YAHAWASHI, John the Revelator said, the angel came and said his feet was like unto fine brass, which fine brass is dark, by the way, as if it burned in a furnace, right? Fine brass if they burned in a furnace. That's clear. But this guy, vocab, and the other guy will say, well, the furnace is, it's not actually talking about a furnace. It's actually not talking about brass, but it is describing it. That's why it says likened in the Old Testament, likened unto wool, likened unto being burnt. In fact, the older version says chimney, as a burnt chimney. You still can't get around that. The chimney is not glowing, man. It's burnt. But what these guys will do, they will lie. They will throw in false statements and false doctrines just to prove their point. They don't want YAHAWASHI to be so-called black, right? They don't want the Israelites to be saved, right? They don't care about you, Jake. So you phony Christians that follow them, well, that's on you. Anyway, verse 10, for this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind. Well, who's the there? You cannot sit up there and say that this is talking about anyone who believes. That is BS. We clearly went into Revelation 7 and 9 and proved that what that was talking about with kindreds and the multitude and even nations, a progenitor going back to the same nation, the same people that have the same thing in common. This is crazy, man, how they just made this up. He pulled this out of I don't know where. I wonder how long it took them to make that doctrine up. I thought they might have made that up years ago. Maybe they did. I don't know. Jehovah's Witnesses had it right in that part, but they're still off. Okay? I will put my laws into their mind and be to them in their hearts, and will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. So it seems like these people don't believe really in the Most High. They believe what they feel the Most High should be. The Most High, from the beginning, have already ordained his men. You didn't have free will. Jeremiah 30, 32 and 10, somewhere around there. Proverbs 20, 24. You didn't have free will. The Most High said, from the beginning, I have already ordained all these things to happen. He already knew what was going to happen with his son. He already knew with the flood, when everything happened. It's crazy how these people don't have any kind of understanding of what the Most High is, and give him the credit of being the Almighty Most High. Somehow they think that the children of Israel went off, so he said, you know what? Since you're going off, I'm going to just start adopting everybody in. When Isaiah 55 says, my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither your ways my ways. So anyway, I just wanted to touch on it. I just thought this was kind of crazy how they just threw that on there with Eckhart J. Schnabel, and they just made it up as they went along. That's all I have on that. Shalom.